Alright, so now let's talk about some Loft options, and I'll start once again with the Loft tool. So let's go to Loft, and here I've got three different sketches. Now in this case, these two sketches have equal number of segments. So this is made with 8 segments, and this one is also made with 8 separate segments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So all these are 8 segments. And it is always recommended that you use equal number of segments for creating lofts. And that way SolidWorks will be able to kind of figure out easily which segment to connect with the next one. So in this case, if you use equal segments, and if you select maybe here this segment and here this one, then SolidWorks will connect these two segments, and all the remaining segments will also connect in the same order. So it will be easier for SolidWorks to figure out the way these segments are connected. But it's not always possible to have equal number of segments in the sketches. For example, in this one, this last one is actually an ellipse, and here, as you can see, we've got only 4 of these points. So of course this is not made with 8 separate segments. Now for this kind of geometry, you can actually create segments using the segment tool, and you can add your own points here. Let's do that first before we convert it into Loft. So let's just cancel this out for now, and now I'll go to the segment tool. Now for the segment tool, you can go to tools, sketch tools right here, and we have the segment tool here. Now the segment tool will not show up in this part modeling environment because you can add segment on the sketches, and of course none of the sketch is active currently. So since we want to add it here, I'll select this sketch and I'll go to edit sketch option, and now we can access the segment tool. So tools, sketch tool, and segment, and as you can see, it is active now. Alright, now select the number of segments. So in this case, I want to divide it into 8 segments. So if whatever the number is, if it is something else, then just change it to 8 and then select the sketch. And here we are, we've got now 8 separate points here. Now this ellipse is divided into 8 separate segments. We can kind of use it. So here in this case, it is kind of using points for dividing this, but you can also split the segment into 8 separate units. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'll select sketch segments instead of adding points. Click OK. Now this warning shows that these relations will be deleted, which is kind of okay with me. So I'll just select yes, and it is now divided into 8 separate segments. As you can see here, these are 8 separate segments created. All right, now let's use it. So exit out of this sketch, and again, I will just go to this one and let's start creating the loft. So let's go to Loft, and I'll start with this one, then this, and the corresponding one here. All right, so this is what we have. Now, as you know, you can always move these points to kind of align it properly where you want it to be, but it looks like in this case, this is aligning it really good. So I'm not going to change that further, but if you want to change the shape of ellipse to kind of match it properly, once again, you can do that. But here, this looks close to what I actually need, so I'll leave it like this. All right, so this is the loft profile which I'm going to get. Now let's look at other options that we have here. Well, go to options panel here, expand it, and here you can see several options. So we'll look at a couple of these options here. The first one here is merge tangent faces. Now currently this is checked. I will uncheck this and I'll create this loft. And as you can see, it will create loft where tangent faces are merged, but they are not kind of merged in a completely clean way. So you'll get this kind of crease wherever the faces are tangent. Now to understand this thing properly, let me just go back to this loft tool again. And here I will delete this last segment. So ellipse, we don't want that. And we'll create loft with only these 2 segments. Now here, as you can see, this part of the sketch is tangent to this part right here. So it is connected with tangency constraints. So is this. So all these sketches are connected end to end with tangent. And at this point, SolidWorks will create this crease line if you uncheck this option. Similarly, here we have the octagon and we have fillets applied here. So the fillets are actually tangent to these 2 lines right here. So this is the point where it is now adding this crease. So at the point of tangency, it will add the crease. But if you don't want that, then you can check this box, merge tangent faces, and then click OK. And we'll get a completely smooth profile kind of like this. You can of course add this one too in this one. So I'll just go to edit feature, and to add this extra profile, I'll once again select, oops, I just selected something else here, so I'll just clear the selection entirely, and let me just make the selection one more time here. There we are, we've got this thing selected. Maybe I'll just move this point right here. All right, that looks good. Merge tangent faces is checked. click OK, and here we are. We have got a completely smooth profile here, this 3D loft. All right, now let's look at the second drawing. Now here we have two similar kind of ellipses and this rectangular shape here with fillets. Let's use loft here again. So I'll go to loft and I'll select this point close to this one here, this ellipse right here, and then click here, and then I'll click right here. All right, and we've got this loft. Now in this case, as you can see, these green points, the connectors, are actually added on these points, and that's where I want to keep it, because if you just move this connector somewhere else, it's just going to fail this loft, which we don't want. We just want this loft kind of like this. Also, I will now ensure that this connector is as close as possible to this boundary. So I'll move it even further here so that it is kind of here, just to ensure that we get this loft properly. It is completely here, just close to this endpoint. That's why I just moved it close to this endpoint here. And this is the loft shape which we are going to get. But now let's look at this option here, which is close loft. When you select this option, SolidWorks will close this loop completely and it will create this kind of loft. So even with open sketches, you can create close loft simply by checking this box. And also then we have the next option, which is show preview. So you can just check or uncheck this option to show or hide the preview. So we just want to see this preview, so I'll keep it on. Now we have some options for checking the surface of this loft. So these options are here in the curvature display. Activate this and we have options like mesh preview. Activate it and now you can see all of these meshes. So this will let you kind of visualize the cross sections. So right now we only have 5 of these meshes. Let's just increase the density and now you can see the cross sections right here. So as you can see here, we are getting a completely weird kind of cross section. So is the case with this, but after that, after maybe this one, we are getting clean cross sections. So this will kind of let you visualize the areas, the cross sections of your complete 3D solid. All right, I'll deactivate mesh preview. Then we have zebra stripes. So this helps in visualizing the surface consistency, and wherever there is a stress concentration or deformity in the surface, it will be kind of easier for you to visualize it. So this is the zebra stripe that you can use. So that's again another analysis tool that you can use. And finally, we have the curvature comb. So once again, you can analyze this 3D loft using curvature combs. So in this case, we have curvature combs added in 2 directions. So as you can see, direction 1 is in red, direction 2 is in blue. So you can also increase the scale here. So when you change the scale, it will just increase the size of these comb lines, and basically these comb lines are inversely proportional to the radius of this curve right where these are normal to the surface. So basically, longer this comb line, shorter is the radius where it is connecting, and for the shorter comb line, the radius is kind of large. So that's what this comb line is all about. And you can also increase or decrease the density of these comb lines to kind of visualize this thing in a clear way. So once again, this will give you again a different picture of how this curve is going to be. So that's again another surface analysis tool that you can use. So in this case, I'll just deactivate this, and also mesh preview, we don't want it. And finally, with these settings, let's just click OK to create this loft, and this is what we are going to get. So these are some of the loft options.